Tell me a little bit more first about your career at Burberry, and then
move on how I got to here. I always say I went from education to employment to entrepreneurship. So I got my job first of all a month after I graduated. So I was literally like,
wait, how did you get the job? Let's start there.
So
that's
I
an
got
interesting.
it a month after, and I was working in first I was working in the Burberry store, in a department store, Burberry department. And then they said, "Do you want to work in the sample cell, which is in the head office?" So I was like, of course, this is my opportunity. I always wanted to be a PR girl. So I was like, okay, I'm going to print off my CV, hand it in. The opportunity came. I wasn't prepared for it. I was not confident. I didn't hand in my CV when I was there. I would walk around like the PR department and I literally felt so small, like a small fish in this big pond. And the feeling that I get now is how I like comfort students, is that the feeling I got then was that I was the most educated I'd been in my whole life. I was a graduate, I had my degree, but I was the least experienced out of absolutely everyone. And that gave me it wasn't even imposter syndrome, because I didn't even feel like I belonged anyway, like to feel like an imposter. I just felt like
this was not for you.
Yeah, like it was just so, I'm a confident person in life, but in that arena.
I know, and I've been exactly in that position as well, because in fashion, there's so many big personalities. And it looks like they all know what they're doing. So for you to get there in a space that you've never been before, and there's not even time to like help you.
No.
So they really,
everyone's focused on a mission, busy, everything's urgent. So anyway,
especially in PR,
super, especially in PR. So I was working in the sample cell. He wasn't a security guard. He was the head of APP, so like asset and profit protection, so security for the business. He noticed me and he was like, "You've been working so hard. What do you want to do?" I told him. Long story short, he told a woman in the press samples office that I was his cousin. Random. Black people supporting black people. It's so important. It's so important. And then I got a 5-week internship. Killed it, did everything I needed to do to impress my boss, and then I was extended. I became permanent basically, and then I stayed for 2.5 years. So that was like a serendipitous moment, like fate just aligned with my goals.
And what was your first position when you started there?
Press samples assistant. So basically I was in the press office with all the samples from runway to children's collection, mini-me collection, Burberry men's. That's when Burberry was split into like Prorsum, runway, Brit, London, accessories. Everything was like literally behind my desk, and then we would fulfill press requests for like magazines, as well as internal requests for all the departments that need access to the samples, and then special projects with like VIP and all this type of stuff.
That is so cool.
It was so cool, honestly. And like the press samples office is the hub of the office, because everyone needs access to press samples. So there was like 1,000 knocks on the door. Our room had to be locked because obviously it's like high worth items.
Yeah, of course.
So like the door would constantly be knocked, and I was closest to the door. So it was great because I got to meet so many people. Like I'd always be the one greeting them, like what you need, what you want, blah, blah, blah. So it was good.
Okay, if I think about this, it sounds like the perfect job and the space to be in, especially for a fashion graduate, right?
Yeah.
So what made you now say, you know what, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to start my own thing? Because that's a huge step.
Do you know what? Like, it's always huge when you look back on it. Like at the time, it's just your life. And life never feels bigger than us. It's just what you're dealing with, and you just get on with it. So I knew that I had kind of overstayed. I was there 2.5 years. In a junior position, especially the position I was in, I had learned everything I needed to learn on that level within maybe 1.5 years. So that extra year that I was there was good.
But it was easy. It was easy.
And my manager was pushing me to have more responsibility. But I didn't want it, because I knew that my main thing was that I wasn't utilizing my best skills. And that's something I always say to students and graduates. So whoever wants to enter fashion, like, you will do things that don't necessarily enhance your strengths. And you're not going to be fulfilled in life if you don't play to your strengths. You're not. You could learn new skills and you can add that to your toolkit, and you can have this hybrid list of skills and be highly skilled in so many different areas. But if you are not playing to your strengths, you are not going to be fulfilled, because there's a reason.
But how do you know
what your strengths are?
Yeah.
I have a very strong belief that who we are now is intrinsic, like it's in us, and it's linked to who we've always been since we were children. So I do an activity with like some of the girls in my network, and I always say, tell me about the things you enjoyed when you were young. And they'll say needlework or this or that, and I'm like, is there an aspect of that in your life now? Yes, in some ways, or actually I feel like I'd be more fulfilled in my life now if I did more of that stuff.
So if it isn't, then you know that you need to go back
trace it back.
Okay, but now looking back at you just leaving Burberry, how did your family, friends, how did everybody react? Because I remember when I worked for Michael Kors 2 years, and I worked in the store, and it was like my family was so happy, like, oh my God, Ashlee works for Michael Kors, and we got 50% discount. So my whole family literally had a Michael Kors product. And I think, sample sales, all these things. Yes. But for me, I remember one day I called my mom. I was like, Mama, I think I'm gonna quit my job. She's like, no, Michael Kors, such a good job. And I told her this is literally what I said. I said, I work for Michael Kors. Every day I work for him, he's getting richer and richer. Who's gonna work for me one day? I need to build my own, right? And she was like, okay, that's true. So at least my mom understood it, but I think the rest of my friends and family were like, why would you leave this perfect job?
And I get that. I get that because like, for me, I wouldn't say I was supported. I was just kind of like, do what you gotta do. Not in like a, we back you, but it's just like, you're gonna do it anyway. So
they know.
Yeah, exactly. And I get it because I guess people want the best for you, and the best in a parent's eyes or in like a family member's eyes is where you're most protected. And you're most protected when you're in a company with a salary, with a good reputation, and all these benefits or whatever. But like I said, I wasn't playing to my strengths. And I think I've always had like a very strong, I always say I'm not the most confident person. I'm confident, but not the most confident person in the world. But one thing I do have is like high self-worth and high self-esteem. Like I value my opinion of myself above everyone else. Like you could tell me something about me, I'll take it on board and I'll learn from it. But if I don't think that thing about myself, then I'm not gonna allow you to stress me.